General Dhillon, it has been 1 year since the brutal Pahalgam attack, and I feel that the pain and suffering of the nation still echoes through all of this time. So, how deeply do you resonate with this, and what do you have to say about it?
Thank you, and first of all, Jan, to all of yours. And before I answer your question, I would like to pay my respects and condolences to the families of the Pahalgam victims, as also salute the sacrifice of 26 victims of 22nd April 2025. The Pahalgam attack was the most heinous of the attack against humanity, against mankind, and against the people of Kashmir, and in addition to the victims, 26 victims of Pahalgam. And as a soldier, as a human, as an Indian, I think I connect very closely to this incident, because this type of an incident brings pain to the families, brings pain to the feelings, emotions of everyone who looks at it. Yes, it touches your conscience, and it touched the conscience of India on that day. And that's how we went for Operation Sindoor, as a retaliation to this attack, to make sure that terror factories in Pakistan, they're destroyed there, and we avenge the sacrifice of 26 of the victims of Pahalgam attack.
And so, A.K. Bharti, during a press conference, he quoted a line from the Ramcharitmanas, and which essentially meant that when your enemy is not understanding through patience and through dialogue, then the only thing that you can do is instill fear in them. And that's pretty much what India did. So after the heinous Pahalgam attack, just like you mentioned, do you think that's that change from a nation that was following deterrence as a mechanism had to now go in for a final attack and a final way to instill that fear in the enemy?
एयर मार्शल A.K. भारती, द डीजी एयर ऑपरेशंस, उन्होंने जब ये बात बोली थी,
तो याद कीजिए वो पंक्ति जो है, विनय न माने जलधि जड़, भय 3 दिन बीत, बोले राम सकोप तब, भय बिन होए न प्रीत.
That means the threat in being is most important. And then as a deterrence, if you are strong, then only the enemy will understand that you can attack or you can hit. If you are not strong, the enemy will take his chances. And Pakistan has been doing this for so many decades now, wherein they were expecting that Indian response will be normal or not very violent or not very aggressive. But after Pahalgam, the type of response India gave in terms of Operation Sindoor, that is what matters. We are not India of yesterday. We are in India which is 6th largest in population. That means we have the human resource. We are the mighty economy. We are the mighty military. We are the largest democracy. We are a nuclear power. And if a country of our size and dimension and our economic might has to react, it has to react decisively. And that is exactly what happened on 6th, 7th May to 10th of May 2025 in terms of Operation Sindoor. And Air Marshal A.K. Bharti's statement, Bhai bin hoye na preet, was absolutely to the point. And Pakistan, if at all they try anything again, then the result or the response would be even grimmer for Pakistan.
Absolutely, sir. I think you've summed it up very nicely. And another thing that you just mentioned, that this is not the India of the past, it's the India of today. So do you feel that Operation Sindoor was categorically a turning point in India's anti-terrorism doctrine?
I would say more than that, it was a turning point in the way India looks at terror. It's very clear that India will not differentiate between a terrorist who carried out the act on ground, or the people who spotted him, or the organizations or the military who spotted, trained, equipped, financed him, or the nation which gave them the safe sanctuary or the launch pads or the training area. For us, the terrorist, the spotter, and the nation spotting it, all are terrorists, and they will be dealt with as a terror person or a terrorist state. That is where India, I think, declared a very well-defined counter-terror strategy, and that has to be understood. Never before has that been said in these many words. So our counter-terror strategy is a new face of new India, and we are not going to accept terrorism in any form or shape.
Sir, and now we are almost closing in on 1 year of Operation Sindoor. And when you look back at this operation, the way it was carried out, what do you think was more, what stood out kind of more to you as a soldier? Was it our military success, or was it the fact that India sent a very strategic and strong message globally?
What stands out in Operation Sindoor is it was not a single service operation, it was not an operation at a limited depth inside Pakistan or Pakistan occupied Kashmir. It was a whole of nation response, made be in terms of Army, Navy, Air Force, made be in terms of diplomatic efforts, economic efforts, the political will. Each and every citizen of the country was standing behind the nation in this war against terror. It was a multi-service operation. All three services contributed. Intelligence people contributed, diplomats contributed, economic people contributed, and the industrialists contributed. So much so the teachers contributed by telling in the class to the young students that this is a just war which India is engaging in. So it was a whole of nation approach. Comprehensive national power was applied. And when a comprehensive national power of a nation like India's might and military and economy is applied, then the message is very clear and the bang is very loud. That's exactly what happened in Operation Sindoor.
And so, when we call it this 4-day war, do you feel there was any one single critical decision that India took that kind of changed the face of how this war was fought and why it was fought?
The most important aspect in this whole war was the political aim was very clear. In spite of what the world is saying, we will do this and we will achieve our political aim and we will end the war on our terms. And now the world has to learn from India how to engage in a war, how to dominate the war in all spectrum of warfare, and how to end the war on your terms.
So, what do you have to say about information warfare, which is a whole new dimension that's been added online, social media, other types of information, and misinformation also? So, what do you have to say about that?
See, in my book Operation Sindoor, there's a full chapter on this, the battle of narratives. Information warfare or psychological warfare or narrative building is a part of the warfare now. Given the internet, the social media, the media, availability of information to everyone at the click of a button. Now, whether the information is true or not is not to be judged at that moment. That can take its own time. But the information must go. You know, it's like this. I written this book. The information warfare is your truth must be told before his lies come out. And your lies must be told before his truth comes out. Now, that is the domain of information warfare. Even your lies have to come out before the other person's truth comes out, because in war, everything is fair. Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. So that is the way information warfare is. It has to be timely, it has to be aggressive, it has to be hands-on. And like it or not, information warfare or narrative building or psychological warfare is part of the future wars. In fact, it will precede the wars. Before the actual war starts, or before the first round is fired, the information warfare would have started many days before or many months before. So we got to be very clear. We got to understand, never believe the false narratives, check, recheck and recheck.
And sir, and you've mentioned your book. Now, you've written a very detailed account, or an honest account of what Operation Sindoor was like. And something that stood out for me was that you spoke about the victims not in terms of numbers, but as actual humans and people that we lost. And we already, said that that kind of resonates with all of us as people, as humans, as Indians first. That pain still remains with us. So, do you feel when it comes to decision making, especially as somebody who has lived at that level, who's taken those decisions, how do you kind of balance that emotional weight that you're carrying as a soldier, as an Indian first, into decision making, because the stakes are so high with the enemy?
Emotions, of course, we all are human. We have emotions, and especially an incident like Pahalgam, where so many innocent lives are lost, and in the manner they were lost. So emotions are natural aspect of any human behavior. Having said that, nations and militaries, when they go to war, they do not take decisions based on emotions or sensitivities. They take decisions based on hard realities. Because as I said earlier, when you engage in a war, there are lives at stake, the national interests at stake, the economic interests at stake, and there are interests of the whole world at stake. So decision making of going in for a war is a very, very professional decision, and it is taken with lot of insight and in-house discussions. And emotions, of course we are human, but I think in the decision making, emotions play a very little role.
And so, talking about this human emotion that we're seeing, was there any human moment behind all of this that never came to public light, but you know of any, particularly real moment that that was a part of this war?
See, the whole Operation Sindoor, the day on the night of 6th and 7th May when we hit the 9 terror targets, the tweet by ADGPI had 4 major aspects. One was Operation Sindoor, the justice is served. Second one was we have hit the terror targets as a retaliation to Pahalgam terror attack. And third was we have not hit any civilian area or civilian collateral damage. And fourth was we have not hit any military area or military cantonment, and we do not want escalation. That aspect of no civilian casualties or no civilian collateral damage, even inside the enemy territory, was very much part of the human angle of war fighting. The way, truthful war, जिसको हम कहते हैं ना धर्म की जंग, जब वो लड़ी जाती है, तो उसमें फिर ये स्कोप नहीं होता कि आप किसी innocent civilian को मारो. Because the whole operation was based on killing of innocent civilians by Pakistani terrorists. And if as a military planner, you indulge in the same thing of killing innocent civilians, then where is your moral high ground? So we were at a very clear moral high ground, but when Pakistan retaliated, starting from Jammu to Poonch, they targeted our innocent, unarmed civilians. They targeted our places of worship. That is an unethical war. So in our war fighting, in our war planning, the human aspect, the ethical aspect, very much part of it, and we lived with it. We did not retaliate in spite of getting casualties of our civilians in Jammu to Poonch and Rajouri. We did not hit back on their civilians. I think ये फर्क है. Like I always say, 5000 साल पुरानी सभ्यता के वंशज हैं हम. We have responsibilities. We have to live up to our culture, our ethos, our history, the way our forefathers fought the wars. So we are different.
And so, as far as your book is considered, when you were writing the book, was it to bring some sort of closure for the people that you wrote this book, or was it to keep the conversation going? What was your aim when you wrote this book?
I think when I started writing Operation Sindoor, I had 2-3 aims in my mind. Although in the military we say we must always have one aim, but one aim with the multiple facets. One was the reader must come to know what actually happened. So the book is truth and the only truth. There's not an iota of lies or a narrative or a misinformation in the book, because book is in the market for almost now 6 months, and not a single observation on the facts of the book. So that is what was, the facts must be told the way it happened in Pahalgam and the way it happened during Operation Sindoor from both sides. That was one. Second one was, once you tell the facts and the truth, you automatically defeat the narratives. There are a lot of narratives being built around this war. 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. I talked about this in the book. Who called the ceasefire? I talked about in the book. Even now people are, building that narrative, and some people are even buying that narrative. But I shattered those narratives in the book so that with facts and with truth. And third one was, as a civilian or as a reader, he's very intrigued to know how did we fight this war. And in spite of, there are a lot of secrecy around the weapon systems and the strategy and the tactics and the operational art, having kept that in mind, not disclosed any of those. But still, I told whatever this reader wanted to know about war fighting, because he is getting information from social media, and at times that information is not correct. So I thought this book should work as a platform for factual information about how the war actually was fought, including the weapon system. I've given some great details about how the tactics, the strategy, the operational art worked on ground, and what are the type of weapon systems which worked. what are the capabilities. So all these things were at the back of the mind when I was writing the book. And I'm so happy that type of feedback which I'm getting, either online or offline, is tremendous. And thank you, readers, for that.
And so there's a question that I've always wanted to ask you about this book for a long time, and that was that did you write it as a soldier or did you write it as a responsible citizen? Who was writing this book?
Soldier is always a responsible citizen. So I was writing it as a person who knew the nitty-gritties of war fighting, who knew nitty-gritties of terrorism in Kashmir, who knew the background, who knew the players, who knew the whole thing, and who also knew how the war actually fanned out. But at the same time, I was very conscious, like I said earlier, not to give out anything, even inadvertently, which may assist the enemy in judging the way we go about business of war fighting. But at the same time, I had a responsibility, as you said, as a responsible citizen, to inform the Indians and the world that this is how we fought this war. We were very clear about our responsibilities. हमें अपनी जिम्मेदारियां मालूम थी, हमें अपनी हदबंदियां मालूम थी. उसके बीच में रहते हुए, we fought this war and fought it decisively.
Excellent, excellent. So my last concluding question is, if you had to sum up Operation Sindoor in one word, what would it be?
Decisiveness. The soldiers, the last man standing. The way they executed, tremendous. Salute.
Absolutely. And so what's that one message 1 year after Operation Sindoor that you want to give to the citizens of this country?
As a citizen, you must have faith in your military, you must have faith in your political dispensation and the government of the day. Because the governments and the militaries do everything in the overall interest of the nation. I understand the few things which you want to know cannot be told because of the inherent intelligence oblique confidential nature of the things which are there. But believe you me, everyone in war fighting is doing it for the best interest of the nation and of the citizens. Democracy है, सवाल पूछिए, आपका हक है. लेकिन जब उसका कोई जवाब मिलता है जिसमें कुछ एक बातें नहीं बताई जाती, क्योंकि वो नेशनल इंटरेस्ट में है, नेशनल सिक्योरिटी इंटरेस्ट में है, तो विश्वास कीजिए, विश्वास करना सीखिए. आपका देश है, हमारा देश है. Have faith, believe in your military, and support your military. Today, in the world of narrative warfare, you make sure that you are not being used to spread someone else's narrative. Question that narrative, be a responsible citizen, be a good citizen, respect your nation, respect your flag, stand with your flag, stand with the nation, stand with the military. Thank you. Jai Hind.